Okay.
Close that little thing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to call this of the Public Site and Building Commission to order at 7:03. Dave Horvath's waiting.
Yep, I got him.
Okay. And Olson again, please. Doing it. All right, so, and Dave Horvath's here too. Okay, good. Okay, so I just called the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge. Got a flag right over there. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, so public input. Do we have any public input? I don't see any public, so probably not. And correspondence, nothing. Well, I do have a piece of correspondence. Actually, I'll kind of put this in this place now. I received this 2 weeks ago in an email as an attachment from Gerald Roche, and it's his letter of resignation from the Public Site and Building Commission addressed to Dan Carter. And the email was CC'd me and Kathy. So it was emailed to the three of us, and he also dropped a copy off to Lisa Berg, town clerk. So that makes it official. She gave me a copy with the town clerk stamp on it. I don't know why. He didn't really say, just said he was resigning. And I wrote back telling them I was in receipt of his letter and that I thanked him for his service to the town of Bethel and told him that I regret to hear that he'll no longer continue to work with us because his knowledge and expertise have been very helpful to the project. So he was while he was part of the commission. So now we're down a person, and Dan knows because he was on a letter on the email that Gerald sent the letter. So, and I also emailed Dan separately and said, now we've got to find somebody. So if anybody has any ideas of names to give to the Board of Selectmen, think about it and let us know, or let them know. So we need to do something soon.
Nancy, excuse me, who was that letter from?
Gerald Roche.
Okay.
Yep, thanks. So that's the only correspondence, and that seemed to be the best place to put that because I wanted to let everybody know. So approval of meeting minutes. I will make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes from May 8th, 2024. Second.
I'll second.
Roy seconds. Any things that need to be changed, added, updated, etc. I think everything's good with that. So let's vote then. All in favor? Aye. Dave Olson's aye. Dave
Do I have
Horvath.
to abstain?
I think you might have to abstain because you might
Yeah.
work the minutes.
I have to abstain. Yeah.
John Perna and Dave Horvath were absent from that meeting.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Yes, you were here.
Okay. Aye.
You were here, John.
I know it was a whole month because we had to cancel the last meeting because we didn't have a quorum.
So
So you got
yeah.
all in favor except for the abstention. Well, then no no's and the abstentions.
Yes.
Thanks. Jolene is with us doing.
Oh, yes, sorry.
I forgot to say.
That's okay.
Doing the minutes because Kathy's off climbing a mountain somewhere again. Hopefully she's having a good time. All right, so that's the minutes. We're done with that. And we'll continue on through all the different projects. We'll keep the police station training range first on the agenda. I will give a general update and maybe get a little bit more from Kevin too. So Downs is pretty much finished with their work. There were a couple things, and again, we'll ask Kevin when I finish. So Chukunski Humes went out to the range, and it was both Brian Humes and Mark Allen who's been working on the project. And they met out there with Lieutenant Libertini and Evan to do a walkthrough, make sure everything was done. And the only thing they came up with was a small small thing. There was a couple of areas where there had been wall penetrations on the interior and needed fire caulking. So they asked Kevin and I asked Kevin to make sure Downs took care of that. And then there are inspections waiting to happen. Chris Baldwin is away. He's back next week. And so Downs has scheduled those inspections with Chris on Monday, the 17th. And I talked to Jolene earlier this week because I've been bugging Action Target they have reports that they have to finish so that they can get them to CES, commissioning agent. And then CES has to finish their work using Action Target's reports. And I've been emailing Action Target. Finally, I heard back, not from David Johnson, but from Brian Sanders, who I think is maybe a step above, that David Johnson had a death in the family. So he's been out. And they're working on getting those reports together. And so I said, when are you going to do your inspections? He's pulled permits. You got to do inspections. And he says, we don't have a permit. We don't do permits as per our contract. So I called Jolene and found out there are no permits for Action Target's work in the file. And I'm not sure where we go with this. So we got to figure that out probably when Chris comes back. But I've also got emails into Evan to find out. And Laura did all the work with Action Target to sign off on permits, but it wasn't the permits so there's that. So Kevin, did you get the fire caulking done?
Yeah, that was actually accomplished the day that you sent me the email. The electrician was out there for an inspection, and he was able to get it done at that same time. So that's done. I got photos I can send over.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you need to, if it's done. And then who's meeting Chris Baldwin out there on Monday next week to do
It's either going to be me or our superintendent, Craig.
Okay. So then they'll do that final part, and that's your part's done.
Yep.
And we have to figure out what to do about the Action Target part. So, is there anything else, Kevin, that came up that you need to check in with or deal with?
No, just, I mean, we're still part of the project, if you will. So I just, it was my duty to show up to this if there are any other questions.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because
Of course.
I hadn't heard anything about the fire caulking. And the one email that I did get from Brian Hume saying that he and Mark met out there with Lieutenant Libertini and Evan, that they were going to make a punch list. And I thought, well,
Yeah, I found that kind of confusing because Mark already provided a punch list. I want to say back in, I want to say like March or something. So I didn't want to dive too far into it because it was only that one item. But
all right.
Yeah.
Well, he said he was going to make it because I think it was March or it might have even been early April that they were out there with Kohler Ronan, and they came up with a list, and there were still too many unfinished things. So that's why they went back out, because all that stuff got finished. That was on their original. It wasn't really even a punch list. It was kind of like this stuff still needs to be taken care of. But then he said developing a punch list and we'll send it along. And that was like 3 or 4 days ago. And I thought, that was last week.
yeah, I mean, typically the way things are done is we get the punch list, we, complete the bulk of the items. And if there's any open items, that's attached to the statement of substantial completion that we turn over to the building official. And, we already got the statement of substantial completion. So
Right.
that's why I was confused when Mark said that they were going to issue another punch list. So
We might have to ask him, like, what did he mean? And are there other things? Because if there are other things, we got to take care of them. But if that's the only thing, then I think we're good. Does anybody have any questions or anything for Kevin? Should be good to go. Okay, thanks, Kevin.
all right, you're welcome.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the other thing that I was working on was looking at the budget, because the last budget report we got from Evan showed that we had $185 left in contingency. And some of the numbers didn't seem, on that budget report didn't seem right to me. So I spent a whole lot of time going through all the minutes for the past 2 years, looking at the approvals and some of the contracts that I could find. For the contract amounts for the different, there's not that many, contractors, Action Target, et cetera. The change orders, which obviously we would have to approve. And I also got a spreadsheet from finance on how much we've spent so far. And they sent me the spreadsheet that has payments to date, which was great because it shows that we've paid, I'm trying to find it. We've paid about 1.25 million. And what I could figure out from what we need, what we still owe people from the contract amounts, the change orders, final contract amounts, about 145,000. So we're still under 4 million, which is good. Yet I think we're under more than $185. So I'm still working to get, I've been, this is it. I'm trying to open up things in my computer and they won't open. So if we have, I kind of came up with somewhere around 4,000 left. So again, I'm looking for clarification from STV, even though they're kind of not totally out of the picture, but they're, we've exceeded the contract amount that we had, even with the last change order from STV.
So I help understand that
Yeah.
because STV got to the schools via police station, right? They kind of wound up with the schools.
No, they didn't do the original police station.
Okay, so I'll back up then a
Yeah.
little farther. So they're working on the schools for us.
Yeah.
And they ran out of money, but they're not willing to talk to us. They just stopped coming to the meetings?
That's sort of what it seems like, but I'm.
No,
trying
that
to-
is what happened.
Right, but,
Yeah, it's not sort
but
of,
I'm-
it's what is.
right, but
So,
I've been
I
asking.
want to say, let me finish, please.
Sure.
I have a severe issue with them. Number one, they're supposed to be professionals, okay? You don't wait until the money runs out and tell somebody you're not coming to the meetings anymore.
Mhm.
Number two, Evan shouldn't even call himself a project manager because we sat here at the board, planned all this work to have the makeup air unit started. He sat here and didn't even tell us that he was going to be on vacation. That's like a kick in the teeth. That's the way I feel. I mean, you wouldn't say to us on something so important when we're trying to cross the finish line, when you're our customer rep, that I'm not going to be here that week. I just want to let you know. That's common decency. Where is he tonight?
Well, I did,
Taking a project manager's course? Because that's what he should do.
I did, email him and Angela and Mark, who their other higher ups are, asking about several things. And did get a reply from Angela saying that they were looking into, basically I was looking at some budget stuff. And that she had a prior commitment tonight and so did Evan. That's why they couldn't be at the meeting. I thought they just weren't going to come to meetings anymore, but if they're going to come, then that would be great. But they haven't since Evan was away for our last meeting.
Good.
And then we didn't have a meeting after that. Here's the spreadsheet from, so just to go back and then we're going to go back to, so $1,251,925.19 has been paid today. That's just what I got from finance. We have a couple of invoices tonight. So yes, and I have, I am going to email again those three, Evan, Angela, the supervisor, and Mark, her supervisor and ask what, I mean, they didn't even, like you said, come and say, here's a change order, or,
Well, let's go farther back. We paid them the whole entire project.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to show up here.
Yeah.
Let's leave the change order out of it.
Yeah.
Out of common decency, you should be here to talk to us.
yeah, I agree.
And we keep rewarding people for bad behavior.
I agree.
And it
Yeah.
equals zero. And that's my feeling of them. I don't care if they're listening. I could care less. They're a zero in my book. I wouldn't hire them for another project. On the way that this little project
Mhm.
that you showed, that turn of events
Yeah,
is disturbing
Just
absolutely
just have the
disturbing.
decency to talk to us.
right here.
Yeah.
So just say to me, hey, I just want to let you know.
Well, I think.
I'm
it was the
not gonna
same
be
thing-
there.
Same thing on the gas meter too, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
well, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah, that was just
Because
a
he was
fiasco.
there, yeah. I mean, the whole, everything kind of
Contingent
happened.
upon it, Exactly.
We're professionals.
Yeah.
You took our money up until the last day,
Common courtesy,
and
at
then you
least,
invite me to the
at
prom.
least to sit down here and talk this through.
Back down to this.
So I'm, yeah, no, I'm gonna send another, email and because I did say in one email that there's, other than budget reports, what else does Evan have that we might need? Because I know that CES said, Evan doesn't have these things, but CES said, make sure, and this is gonna have to come from Action Target, who's gonna bug them, that we get the owner's manuals and all that kind of stuff. They
Absolutely.
did the
You
training
can have
that
the
day.
closeout documents.
Yeah,
It should be a hard copy and
so the
there should
closeout,
be two.
Yes.
I would request two, 3-ring sets of 3-ring binders.
yeah,
One that stays at the town hall, one that stays at the PD,
yeah,
and then another one on a flash drive that the Public Works or
Yeah.
the PD or both could load on their server.
Yeah.
So that if you have any issues
right.
down the road,
Because
that is part of
Right.
their absentee person here that is responsible for that. Which leads me to say that, okay, you got paid, okay, but you owe us to sit with us
Right.
on what we didn't get on what you got paid for.
Yeah, yeah.
That's even more disturbing.
Right. I know he personally doesn't have them. They still need to.
I
be
don't
done.
care about
No,
personal.
no, that's what I'm
He
saying.
walks in
is-
the door, he represents STV.
Right, no, I understand. What I'm saying is Evan, as part of STV, no one in STV has those manuals yet. They have to come from Action Target. If there's anything like the smaller units that, Downs had installed, if they have manuals, we need to get those. Downs did send a closeout package to, I'm not sure who, me and some others. If everybody wants to see it, I'll distribute it. It was big. So I'll send that along. I have the cover page. So I'm not sure if we need to, I should have asked Kevin, but I'll ask him in an email. Do we need to do anything with it, sign it, whatever? I had the, letter of substantial completion signed. But the stuff, like the day that you were there, that the Aon guy didn't show up and then it was the
Days.
following week.
Not days. From his absence, I went to volunteer due to his being absent. That's the bottom line. We
Okay,
shouldn't have to do that.
yeah. Well, you were there the one day that the Aon guy didn't show up and then the Aon came the following week and you were there again.
Right.
To get, and then that's when they got everything up and running and they actually, the police department did some firing, Action Target did some training, a little bit sort of training there on the unit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we need to have all the stuff we need.
Right.
And it needs to be not all over the place. We have to get everything. So,
So do we owe STV any money?
we do have an invoice from them, which we are not going to consider right now
I would hope not,
because it's incorrect,
because we're rewarding people for bad behavior.
right?
Doesn't equal.
Yeah. I
Success.
mean, they have to complete the items that they start.
Exactly,
And I have,
because I
Simple as
am
that.
sure
Right.
that there's stuff that they got paid for
Right. Exactly, that happened.
that hasn't been 100% completed.
so
Exactly.
that was one of my questions in an email that might have been yesterday or today, I can't remember. Was how did this whole permit thing get past everybody?
Right.
If it was in the contract, And I found it, contract in 2 places. And, Action Target doesn't do permits. It's up to the customer.
So that's a question is,
Who's the customer?
and maybe
Us.
Jolene or Roy being in the trades here. In a situation like this now, does the town take the permit out now at this point in time?
Well,
To make
probably
it
has to,
official?
probably have to, yes.
You don't really have a choice if
No.
you want to get a final
CO.
CO on it.
Right.
You have
Yes,
to
there's
get
gotta
a
be a
permit in
permit.
place.
Yes.
So if Action Target has stated that in their contract,
Yeah.
then that's not Action Target's fault.
No, who missed that? That was my
Well,
question in
that's-
the email.
That's why we have a project manager who should dissect the contract to know that.
Mhm.
So,
That's how it happened. We didn't have a project.
so and the other question
Did
that I have
really.
is Action Target, did they do sufficient training to the PD and their staff?
Yes, because the Lieutenant Libertini has been planning training for the entire police force next week. But I have advised them not to use the range regularly without a CO. If they don't get a CO, because we don't have a permit, they can't, Libertini's been on all the emails.
I mean,
Put
they
her
can get a
in
temporary
version.
CO too, right?
So say,
If you don't have a permit for something, you can't give a temporary CO.
Okay.
So while you could give a temporary CO for the shell of the building,
right,
you don't have a permit
or
for
the equipment,
the equipment
So
that
that's
they
gonna have
want
to
to
get done
use.
Monday too then.
Downs
Yeah,
is going to get, I'm sure, fine with their stuff.
Yeah.
But the range equipment, make a fair unit, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That is.
Sure.
And then STV was our owner's rep, right? Did they review the documents for the permit? Because
So-
that would be a huge part of the project. We here volunteer our time
Yes.
every other week. Which is even more embarrassing
Mhm.
that they're not here.
So the, oops, that's the way. There's a number of questions in my mind as to some of the things that we had to deal with in like change orders and stuff. So if you read, and that was something that was found also in the, Action Target, something that Attorney O'Brien pointed out when we asked her to look at things, and she really couldn't come up with anything one way or the other on that change order that said, yes, you have to do this, or no, you can't do that, or whatever. But in looking at, this is for future reference, when you look
Now,
at
we're talking about the change order for Action Target, for the wire, that the pipe wasn't there.
the wire, they did the wire, the conduit,
Right,
and it's up in their thing that says we don't do conduit.
right.
Who missed that? So, but what Attorney O'Brien pointed out was when you see exclusions like that, it's like a red flag. You got to go back and see who covers.
gonna do that.
Right, because on the original Action Target plans, it just said contractor, contractor, contractor. Who's contractor? You were right about bringing that up. They did go and put all the bubbles in and say who's contractor, but they missed some. They missed a bunch. So, yeah, there's that. So what else? So Action Target, we're still due reports from Action Target along with owner's manuals, things like that. I'm gonna have to be in touch again with the police department to remind them that they really should do training next week if we don't have a CO.
Right.
I am also gonna, that's gonna be part of, and again, I asked that question already about permit. Now, Evan was working with Laura in the health department to get her sign off. So she signed off, but she signed off on
Yeah.
Downs's permit, which is what she probably thought was. So we have
she
to
did
find out.
sign off, but she did sign off, the, system that Action Target was installing.
But there's no permit.
Her department is separate. So her review of the initial application from Action Target
Was satisfactory.
was satisfactory in
But did
terms,
they do it, if they applied for something, what did they apply for?
they apply,
But we could figure this out.
yeah, it's they're two separate components.
I
She,
understand.
she approved Action Target to be permitted. And then she's reviewed what Action Target did. And
And I think she's still waiting for
I,
reports from
yeah, I don't
them.
think she's ready to
Yes.
sign off yet.
Right.
But she's been reviewing what's been done
Right.
by Action Target in terms of meeting what was initially
Her ask, which is basically
her ask.
that the makeup air unit does what
Right.
it's supposed to do.
Right.
And that the
Right.
her thing is that we don't want our officers getting.
But
their voice-
her sign off is one piece of what the
Yes,
building permit needs to have in order to issue a final C of O for
right.
Action Target.
So
So
are we
we
gonna-
would have needed a permit in place in order to be able to do that for Action Target.
Because if she's signing off saying that their equipment does everything health wise,
Yes,
that doesn't say that it was installed properly as per plans.
that would be
blah, blah,
from
blah,
the building
blah.
department.
All right.
And if there were any
Again,
special
I'll be
inspections
doing
and all
some
of
more
that. So-
emails. The only other thing I have is input. Unless anybody has any other, man, it's frustrating, it's extremely frustrating,
Yeah.
extremely frustrating.
The one day I think you're gonna have to. We're gonna have to think about is if you wanna get a temporary seal or final seal, I don't know. You're gonna have to carry the baton on what they didn't do, because you still gotta have your mechanical inspection for your seal.
For the makeup air unit, because the little units will get inspected when down, it's there on Monday.
Yeah, but they still gotta be inspected. That's under the permit.
That's on their permit, yes, but the big one, no, the little ones, so not, well. So,
So any piece of equipment you put in, it's gotta get inspected.
right,
We put in the makeup air unit and we put in the two cassette units.
right, but the cassettes were put in by Downs' contractor.
So they're under Downs.
Yes.
They're separate permit.
Yes.
So we just have to
We've
cross
already
the finish
inspected
line
those.
with
Yes.
action targets.
Yes. And is that something that at least STV could have done or pointed out to us?
Correct.
Yes.
They're our owner's rep. That's what we pay them to do. That's my complaint.
Huge omission.
Yep.
I would
Yeah.
think that they would be talking to us like very shortly
Yes, like
to figure this out before it gets escalated to another stage.
yesterday.
I'm already at that stage.
Yeah,
I'm totally at that stage.
I hear you.
Because it's really not
I
fair
am
to
too,
the
but.
PD or
Right.
Something.
They're sitting there with a range.
Right.
perfectly
And
able
then
to be
maybe they
used,
were,
and
you
should
know
have.
why they're not here tonight? And you know why they're not on that screen? It's because they saw the thing about the permit and they don't want to have egg on their face. You know, that's the bottom line.
Okay,
Well, I'm gonna take the high road and hopefully we can talk it through.
yeah, well, like I said, I can start with an email, and if I don't get anything back quickly enough, I will make phone calls. So the two invoices that we have are Signet and, CES. And this is, CES is not complete, but Signet, the CES is still, again, waiting for, reports from Action Target. And let's see if I can find this and put it up on the screen. Because these two I sent to Jack to put up with the documents, but if you don't do it often enough, it's hard to find. So I'm gonna, if you didn't get to review them, I'll put them up as soon as I can find them. So give me and so. This again. Oh, go. So if you're looking for documents, Kathy had Nick putting them in a file in the shared drive. But the other place you can find them, and again, I'll have to do this a few times too, is you go to the town website. And then there's a meeting calendar. So you click on that and you open it. Today, it comes up, here's public site. I can see public site and building commission meeting. There are the invoices, the agenda, the minutes, and the link to get in the meeting. So if you're ever not able to find it, town website, town meetings calendar, not events calendar, but meetings
Meeting
calendar.
calendar.
And then I have that. So now I'm gonna have to figure out how do I share this? Where's me? Fine, here I am. And then how do I share it? No. Present.
I think, yeah.
YouTube. Clicked on it.
Who also raised a hand?
Dave Olson has raised his hand. Oops.
Hi, Dave. What's going on?
I'm just listening to you.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I'm trying to put the document up on the screen. Oh, here we go. Share.
Don't turn me off.
Did we turn you off? Sorry.
Oh, that's the whole thing. I don't want the whole thing. Stop sharing. Okay, let me try again. I'll do this a few times and then I'll get it right. Document. There it is. And let's make it open up bigger. There it is. Okay, so now I got to go back and tell it to share. Where's my meeting thing? There's too much going on all at once. I had finally figured out how to do it with this one. I finally figured out how to do it with Zoom, and now this is different.
It's a little bit different.
Okay, I don't know if I can make that bigger.
I think you can, well,
I can scroll.
gotta
I
hit the
think if
plus.
I can, if I,
Where it says 100, I think you gotta go like 120.
Yeah,
you
but
can-
it's not letting me do that.
you can't increase up here.
It's saying that I can. Oh, here we go. Here's a different. But it's not getting bigger. Anyways, I'll read it. It's from Signet. They did a lot of the security, I think, stuff. And their proposal was for slightly less than this bit. But only by a few cents. So I'll make a motion that we approve Signet invoice number 40383 for the training range, dated. What's the date? Well, it is for the range and it's written out.
Dated 2/26.
Was it? Okay. Yes,
That's-
because they sent it and I had to check with Evan to make sure I see it. That the work was done and it was. In the amount of $9,869.83.
Second,
Seconds it. Do you have any questions?
yes, finishes them off.
This finishes them off because their proposal was for 9,870. So it's a few cents short of the proposal. Any other questions about it? I think it was going to be a little less, but then they found they had to do one more thing and that brought them up to the total. So all in favor?
Right.
Aye. Opposed? Yep, Dave and Dave are good up there. Good to go. Good. Okay, so now let me see if I can find the other one. So this is CES and CES has given us a few others in the past because they just had a little few things to do. It was $100 there, $1,000 there. This is a little larger because they've done a lot more now. So I have to stop presenting. And then I have to go back and find that. That's that. There it is. All right, so I'm back here. That, where's my percent thing here? No. No. There it is. Present that. That's what I want to present. And oh, now that's even smaller. Where'd that thing come from? It's getting bigger, but it's got this, what's this AI assistant thing doing? I'm gonna have to practice this more. Won't close. Yep.
Won't close if you hit the,
Well, I'll read it to you. I'll make a motion that we approve CES invoice number 2023-352.00-000005 for the range commissioning. There are commissioning agent services from April 28 to May 25, 2024 in the amount of $6,760.
Second.
And Dave Olson seconds it. He's got all the backup with it. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Done. So that's the final invoices, which I'll give to Jolene to take care of. And that's it on the training range, unless anybody has any other comments, questions, etc. You more frustrated. So on to the school projects. The audit has been completed, which I think I may have reported at the last meeting when I went to the Board of Selectmen meeting at the beginning of May. The audit was underway, and then Brad Herring was on that meeting too, and he said they had finished that day. And I did get an update from Dr. Carver, who's at a school function tonight, and said basically that they did finish the audit, and there were some questions that they had, and all the questions were answered to their satisfaction. They actually were able to get Geraldine to give some information that they needed from her, and she was able to help with that, which is great. And basically now it's a waiting game as they look at all the stuff, and we wait for them to hopefully give us our final reimbursement check. So they were there the week of May 20th. They showed up the day, that week before, and then started, and then they were there that week. And all this, it's interesting because all the information they need is electronic. They wanted to come and look at the paper documents, which are all stored in that back room behind finance. So have at it. And Dr. Carver says that it could be several months before we find out whether they're okay with it or not. And that's all we have for the school projects. Budget pretty much remains the same with a little over on Rockwell, under on Johnson, and still something like $700,000 in contingency. So then the HVAC project, bids were due on the 23rd, and then it was pushed out another week, and then it was pushed out another week again. So they finally had the bid opening last Thursday, June 6th. And one bid was received, and then another bid came rushing in after the fact, which was discounted because it came late. And with that one bid, Dr. Carver said that they feel a bit uncomfortable about just going with that one company, which is understandable. So,
the name of the company.
yeah, hang on, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, because there's the minutes of the procurement committee meeting, all state construction. And it was also higher than anticipated. So they're talking about going out to bid again.
How much higher? Did it, you know?
So the amount, I mean, it's public record, so find it, go back to this. So their total bid was $3,291,000. And that is, so the grant is 4 million something. The town put in like 1.8 and the grant is 2 point something. I didn't get all those figures together, so it's several $100,000 higher than what was anticipated. So
I
either,
would- I would check because it's very possible that the grant will not award on one bid.
that's, yeah,
I can almost guarantee it.
well, that's why they
I'm
want
not
to,
looking at the
yeah,
paperwork.
and Dr. Trump said he'd feel comfortable with that anyways, of doing the one bid.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if she
Right.
feel comfortable or
Yeah.
not.
So it's got to
If
go
it's
back
only got
out.
One bid.
Right. So it's got to go back out and and I think I reported, not the last meeting, but the meeting before that, since the town has contracted with Colliers to be project managers on different town projects, especially since the ARPA money and the ESSER and all that, that they would need to be the owner's rep for this. But I asked,
This is where I was
What is-
coming.
what does the grant say?
Right.
So Dr. Carver, because I said, we want to make sure, just like you're saying that you can't really, office of school construction won't go with the one bid, that,
Listen, I
That's
don't know their
possible, right.
paperwork,
Yeah.
but it's very likely that they can.
right. And I had also, go back here.
And then, so were they planning on using a commissioning agent?
Yes, they have to.
I think we.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend that they include reviewing the bids that they receive and using the commissioning.
Oh, to help with look at the bids?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm being very granular, but you put a bid out,
Mhm.
right? And somebody responds to it. And then there very well could be a void
Mhm.
in the center that you would want somebody to pick up and say, hey, you didn't pick up pipe insulation on the bid.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the drawing,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah.
these people, they only give you to what you put in the drawings. You would hope that they put an RFP and ask a question, RFQ, I should say.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it would be very, very important, particularly in this environment, that in the next year or two, that you have the commissioning review the bids.
Oh, And if there were an owner's rep on board, they could help with that too.
Should be.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. So,
Well,
So
I
my
don't wanna end up
question-
in the same position that we're in now,
right.
fire range. So there's obviously a lot of questions that I have now, plans, specs, sort of open items.
Yep. So my question to Dr. Carver a while ago was, can we just go ahead and use Carver or Colliers? Or does the grant have some sort of, you got to go out and do a public bid for an owner's rep?
That's what I was,
That's what,
that
after
was the
speaking,
question that I had.
she checked with Office of School Construction and both Brad and Dan and said, you need to do a separate bid.
For ownership.
And it should be done ASAP. Jen's working on the town to get a bid document out. So, because you don't want to miss, just like you said, you got to check all that stuff in those grant rules to make sure you're covering all those bases. Because if you don't, you spend the money and then you don't get it back.
Right.
Gotta watch
Or
out
you
for that.
you award the project not knowing what's missing,
What
Right.
item,
That's even worse.
which is,
and you need more money.
Because if we got,
And that, and in the environment right now, because there's so much work out there, particularly with schools,
right.
there are companies that feed off of what you missed in your drawings.
right. And so having both on,
Like
board, a
Ferguson's.
commissioning agent and owner's rep looking at it,
Separately.
Yeah,
or even, you know, looking at separately and then saying, oh, let's look at this and maybe we're missing this, we're missing that. Then
Right.
that would help a lot. So I have to,
I mean, even to the point, I know we had a discussion the last time Dan Carter was here. To my way of thinking, everything should be hooked. The RFP, the RFQ, you know, whichever one we do.
Yep.
To my way of thinking, we should have our legal people part of this whole process so that we can get everything concise to what we're gonna, who's gonna be covering what.
right.
I think that's where we're a little gray.
Yeah, well, and no, when I first was appointed 20 years ago, I asked at my first meeting, well, what's the town's, you know, step-by-step process to do these things? And there wasn't one
There-
20 years ago.
There
And-
still is.
And actually Dan asked that the one time, you know, what, and he's asked us all our spare time to
You
come up
know,
with something,
We're,
because there are things that you miss and other people miss, and so we
Right.
can learn from that.
we're
So,
a lot of your larger cities, they have
a person who's,
people who are in charge of these projects
Yes.
or top
Correct.
city engineer who has
Right.
somebody under legal staff, and
Yeah.
we don't have that luxury.
Yeah, but not, John, I'm gonna, not most of the time, no. What they do is they include that in with somebody to perform those tasks.
Yeah.
Particularly that towns don't have the staff. Like right now,
Right.
when there's all this money coming out, they don't have the staff to do it,
Correct.
or before that, they don't have anybody with the expertise to do it, and they go outside. And
Yeah.
this project screams. The first thing that we want to know is give us a printout of what the, you know, who answered all the questions.
yeah.
I would, I would
Well, I
imagine
think-
it's Colorado, but you know,
So,
if 5 people bid the job, and one guy asked a question, that has to go out to all 5 people.
right,
We'd want to see that.
yes, and so.
What were some of the questions that were asked?
All that stuff is actually in the, let's just see. Because I did get the whole bid, but it was late this afternoon. I can send it around to everybody so you can see what this particular company said. And so then we can start thinking about what else do we want to know.
Problem is, Nancy, I don't think any of us have the time to sit down and go through
I
the
can't.
details that we're talking about
No.
here. I mean, you need,
I read the action target, breezed through it real quickly in the beginning. I missed all that stuff. So,
exactly, so
yeah,
this is gonna be 10 times more complicated.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we need a professional person, team, say, together that can analyze it from our side.
Right. So we'd want, the bid packet is not gonna show you the correspondence that went out and what questions were asked.
I think some of that might be in the,
It's not gonna be an all states bid packet.
no, I'm talking about the shared drive. So I went looking for I was trying to figure out whether the procurement committee
Yeah.
actually,
If we're gonna be doing an owner's rep, we had to have the owner's rep on now.
yes, because that is
That's-
part of the
This is our
budget.
only, this
Right.
is our only thing.
Because
It's-
that and commissioning are part of the budget that have to be set aside so that then we know how much we spent on. So in the Bethel HVAC shared drive, there's the bid documents, which I think included somewhere I saw
Can we get a good
the
owner's rep?
the questions and the answers to the questions.
That should be.
Detail.
I did see the
Or
questions. and the
they-
answers
They
to the
need to
questions
review the
somewhere.
bids.
Absolutely.
as I was searching around for it,
Kind of said even
but.
Write the questions down.
in the committee.
Correct.
Well, the commissioning agent is mandatory.
Correct.
Owner's
Yes.
rep is not. Unless the rules change, I don't think the owner's rep is mandatory. Commissioning agent is mandatory.
And when we put our owner's rep on it, once the horse is out of the barn, it's gonna be galloping all over the place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even the owner's rep's not gonna pull it in, so.
Yeah, everything's already out there.
It might be in the procurement committee. Yeah, so there's addendums. Oh, that's a different project. I saw somewhere where there were addendums, but it answers the question. So that should be part of, everybody gets the same thing.
Well,
I could go back in my email and find out if I'm allowed to log my phone right now. But I'm 99% sure that we had talked about this in the beginning, that if they were gonna go with the VRF, you have to be VRF certified. Installation and training.
Right.
Yep.
That's all.
As of 6 months ago, I don't think we'll have to on that list.
Well, here's all the bid documents. So addendum 1, addendum 2, so those are all the addendums.
Yeah.
Answers
this
to
would be a
questions.
RFI.
Yeah, so this actually I found on the town website under agendas and minutes, and then you have to scroll through all the commissions. And the procurement committee, that's an attachment to, it's not on this shared drive, but it's on, there it is. It's the spec book, architectural, asbestos test, electrical, exhibit A, hazardous materials, invitation to bid, mechanical, RFP, RFQ, structural, addendum 1, addendum 2, addendum 3, KR, addendum 3, cancel the May 30 meeting and set up the June 6 meeting. But this is not under the, oh yeah, it's under the June 6th meeting for the procurement committee. It has the agenda and then it has a link to the bid documents. So that way you can see them all and check them out so you know what they're dealing with. If they're going back out to bid, probably going to be another walkthrough. Is there going to be another, and what's the bid date going to be? So I want to see if Dr. Carper can keep us all posted on that. But yes, I think we should get, and I have that as part of my, I'm going to email Dr. Carver and Jen about, the other thing that Dr. Carver, she included me in an email to Dan saying how they've been winding down with Bob Germanaro, who's retiring. Unless he's already retired.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was
2
gonna,
weeks.
2 weeks,
Oh,
so the end of
that's-
June,
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. So since he was appointed as an ad hoc member to the school projects, she asked Dan if they were gonna appoint somebody else, and I asked, he was never really appointed as part of the HVAC, I don't think, by the Board of Selectmen, so if we want somebody, who's the new person? And are they gonna become part of commission, voting member of the commission? So I haven't heard back yet, but I will ask again.
So Nance,
Yeah,
I can speak to this.
okay,
So the gentleman they hired to take Bob's spot.
Yeah.
Worked for me for 10 years.
oh, okay,
He was my co-chief engineer for 4 years at Bridgewater through JLL. He's got a vast knowledge, very smart guy. John, he doesn't have the background you and I have in HVAC, but he's got a lot of good common sense, and I think you'll all understand him, and he works very well. He's very mellow, unlike me, and I think he'll be a good addition.
Good.
so is his name Tyler?
Tyler Stevens, yep. His
Right.
wife is a teacher.
Yep.
She teaches AP,
Right, so,
history and stuff.
yep, Tyler Stevens, he's on the most recent email I got, so they've already got him. Good.
Yep.
That's good to know.
He's been training this week.
Yeah.
And I was actually I guess I'll do it now. I was gonna ask permission to send him some of the files that the pictures and stuff for Rockwell, all the projects we had during COVID. If I could send him those files so he knows what he's dealing with?
Well, you can ask him if he wants them, because he may already have access to them through
Okay,
Bob and all that. So instead of sending him stuff he already has, but ask him what he needs.
okay.
You know, we'll hopefully have the chance to meet him at some point soon.
Yeah,
Good, that's good to know.
yeah.
All right. So again, I think we need to get commissioning and owner's rep and have that, the money that's gonna be, you know, already set aside, so we know what we're dealing with as far as,
There really are eyes and ears.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
We've got to have them on. Or.
Yeah.
All these items are negotiated out.
well, sure. And
You know.
CES was bringing stuff up and asking questions all along with the range, and
Well, you know, it's like anything else. It's a package you buy.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to CES, they're a commissioning agent, but they're also structural, they're MEP design.
yeah,
So you could say to them, okay, my engineer designed a set of plans. You need the CES and say, have your, review them. Did they miss anything?
Right.
And it's very commonly done. Just think that, there's definitely stuff that needs to be considered.
yeah. Okay, so I will do some emails with that too. And we don't have anything else, don't have invoices or anything, we don't have any money to, well, we got the money to spend, we don't have any contracts in place, so. And then the last thing on the agenda is the municipal center locker room renovation, and I have not gotten a proposal things down from Peter Eckert yet. So I'm not sure if he doesn't understand what we need, or I gotta check in with him. Because as I said at the last meeting, he had said, well, we can work off our previous contract, which is from 2015. And signed.
Oh, it's the
by-
same pricing.
Same pricing, sure.
No, it's not, it's not. And I don't think finance will give me a check based on that. Like, here, have a bag of money. No, I think we need something, yeah.
Gotta be close.
It's got, and it's, they're signed by people who don't work for the town. That's not good. So. Okay, I bug him about that, so.
Minor details.
Lots details like a permit. All right, so let's see, our next meeting, the end of June, and we may have to meet because we may have to deal with some stuff. Let's see, June 26th. So I'll be here and hopefully people can attend either remotely or in person, and we should know more on HVAC if they go back out to bid. Don't think we'll know anything about the audit, but the range should be done. We will make sure that it's, we will throw ourselves in front of whatever. All right, so anything else anybody needs to, like I said, if you think of anybody who you know of that might be good for the commission, to fill that vacancy, let me know or let Dan know directly. I will take it up.
Hearing none, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Done. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Stop the recording. Stop.